Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a minute before Essie and Scrappy, but I am here with a what? A world champion. What is that belt, man?
This is the Bloodsport Fighting Coalition Imperial Championship. I was honored enough to get a hold of this on Saturday. Yeah,
Im-
excited, excited for my
Imperial
first title.
Championship. It sounds
Yeah,
a little bit like Master of the Universe type of thing.
yeah, it's got some nice little crowns on the side plates as well. It's pretty neat. So shout out to the guys in Livonia where I won this at. We'll be back there in September. Yeah, I'm excited to defend this. This is my first title I've won, so some excitement for me there, getting to win my first one. So
All
yeah,
right.
thought I'd bring it on for a little show and tell. Well, yeah.
I appreciate that. And can you just give me a real quick recap of who you fought and how it went down?
Envy. He's a hell of a worker, hell of a young kid. Funnily enough, for a shoot, went to Collins Hill, graduated the year after me. We didn't know each other, but he came to a show and he had a Collins Hill shirt on, and I went, and we had a whole moment. That was cool. But kid's a schmuck. I'll say that much. Kicked me in the balls during the match. When the ref wasn't looking, and it was nearly enough, but yeah. Oh, and he threw my mouthpiece at my mother, threw his elbow pads at my girlfriend, kicked me in the nards, like just a schmuck.
But you won.
Hmm. So all that matters is I got the gold. That's all that matters.
All right. So
I'll
while
probably have to
you
deal with him again at some point, though. So I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
so while you were doing that, obviously, Georgia and the rest of the Southeast crew headed to Fargo, North Dakota for their annual trek to the mecca of high school wrestling. And as you know from being there last year, and when you wrestled many years ago,
Yeah, yeah.
um, you know what kind of environment Fargo is like. You know what it's like to be on the stage, and so on and so forth. Um, was there any surprise? We're gonna focus on state of Georgia here. So any surprise? I mean, look, Araya Mills, that's not a surprise, right?
Not really.
No. I mean, now is it a surprise that you got two of them?
I don't want to say surprise because we know how good that kid is, but I mean, we see it all the time that a kid will be a monster and not bring two stop signs back home from Fargo. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily a surprise, but it's very good to see that he gets two of them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and in freestyle, the young men put two other Georgians in the finals, and Gabe Swan, who won in juniors, and then uh, Drew Gorman, who took a
Yep.
loss in the finals. But both those were freestyle. We'll talk about girls and Greco in a second. But man, I'll tell you what, I said this when I was talking to Gabe, and Gabe's dad was giving me a little bit of grief about not picking him as one to watch or whatever. I can't miss Hammer. But I'll tell you what, I haven't seen Gabe wrestle that good ever. I mean, he wrestled superb.
Absolutely. I mean, I was up in New York at the time. Just, hopefully next year we'll get back to Fargo because that was a lot of fun last year. But this year I was in New York with family and just watching it as much as I could on Flow and on the streams. Man, Gabe just, I wasn't picking against Gabe in freestyle. It just wasn't happening. From the second I saw him wrestle, I was like, there you go. There's your winner. I don't got to think about it.
Yeah, and he wrestled superb. Gorman wrestled great as well. Ran into a tough Vega who really stopped his momentum early and then was able to kind of counter everything Drew did
Yeah.
for the rest of the match, which was frustrating, but it is what it is. Um any we had I don't know if you actually know what happened to Bambinelli. So
No, I do not.
Dom, um, and I hope I'm not sharing something that is not public knowledge or whatever. He actually got food poisoning before the last day of freestyle, that the night before, and was in the emergency room and so on and so forth. He tried to wrestle. He lost his quarterfinal match, I believe it was. And then I don't think he wrestled his blood round match or his blood round match to even make the top 8. So, man, tough loss for, tough to kind of go out that way. It's a
Yeah.
grind anyway to make, to make the podium, but man, to get sick, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. So Dom obviously was amongst the names. What anybody that surprised you on the men's freestyle side?
I don't want to say surprise. I mean, Levy in a tough heavyweight wrestled real well. Who did he catch like second round? That it was there was a ridiculous draw. I can't remember who it was. He caught the dude that beat him on the front side. I was like, how are they catching each other round 2 or whatever?
Yeah, yeah. No, he. I mean, the heavyweights for the junior heavyweights was
Yeah,
tough.
yeah, real tough bracket. He wrestled real well. There are guys I'm missing as well because like I said, I was more not dealing with family per se, but more wasn't as focused as I usually was in on Fargo this year, just with all the stuff that I was involved with at home.
So actually, Levy won his first 2 matches and then lost to Rocco Delegata.
That's what it was. He caught Delegata early, and I was like, okay, I guess ball up, sure. That's
Well,
a draw, I
and then
guess.
he got Richard Thomas on the backside, Oklahoma style.
Yeah, that was yeah. Okay, I remember that now. Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, moving to
Real quick, just want to mention Amit Allure beat the dog out of that Turkish girl 10-2 just now in the first round. Just want to throw that out there.
well, I think we kind of expected it, didn't we?
I mean, it was expected, but that girl by no means is an easy match. Like that's not an easy draw. Grabbing her round 1.
Yeah, no doubt. No, not an easy. Well, the number 1 seed, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like she caught the number 1 seed. Like I'm gonna give her some credit for it. I don't
But
care if it's someone that I don't care that
she
she
had beat
her
her
earlier.
before, right?
I don't care. It's the number 1 seed at the Olympic tournament, for God's sakes. I'm gonna give her some credit.
Yeah.
And beat her 10-2 as well. Like it's not as if she snuck it out. Oh, I'll throw Blue Stifler wrestled real well again on the podium as well.
Yeah.
One guy that because I'm looking at it now because I remember I was looking at it. Didn't get on the podium, but Paradise wrestled as well. I mean, catching Boyasasu from Rhode Island, that's not a fun draw by any means. And then Roller at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That's a draw. Like that's a
Well, and I don't know if everybody knows, but I know it was Roller. He lost to Roller and was up against Roller before taking the loss. Antonio
and
Mills was beating Gage Patero and ended up losing, or he was down by 1, but he had a shot to win. That was a tough one as well.
and then on the 16U shot side, guys like Ethan Secoy, Severs, Ronan On wrestled tough. Just, a couple of guys just caught weird draws. And shout out Cody Clark get 5th place. Shout out to him. We already mentioned Araya winning both. I mean,
yeah. And Cody's tough, man. He's super tough. Weight class was won by a stud though in Keegan Bassett. So yeah.
and I know we said we're gonna talk about the girls, but I just wanna,
we are gonna talk about the girls. We're gonna talk about the girls now.
So I'm gonna put this out there, right? Georgia and Ansley's sitting here. Georgia had 3 places, right, Ansley? And 2 of them, make sure I'm math right. I'm not the best counter. 2 of them are Fierce and Scrap, are 2 of my girls. And they're Micah Goss and Alpha. Shout out to obviously Micah. Please, no one taking credit for the 2 of them. But Genevieve On did Genevieve On things and got to the finals. And I knew
took third.
Or third, sorry, not got on the podium. I mean, yeah. Greta is a monster. And I've been screaming it from the mountaintops that she's a killer. And finally, people are starting to listen to me. But can I just talk about Cadence Grolla, fam? I've been saying it that she was I'm so proud of that girl, man. I'm so happy for her getting on the podium and a beach national title for her. But yeah, the Georgia girls, 3 got on the podium. It had to be funny and mention that 2 of them are Fierce and Scrappy girls. And Fierce and Scrappy OGs. They were both on the first team as well. Let's not act like I'm jumping on this bandwagon late. Greta did one of my camps in 2020, 2021. My dad was still alive, dopey ass. He was with me. So before he stroked. Anyways, but yeah, so shout out to the 3 of them. Shout out Team Jordan. Wanted to
Well,
throw that out there.
well,
And
and
I'm happy I didn't go because I would never wear Braves themed gear. So I'm happy I didn't go. Never.
oh no, he's wrong on that situation because the Team Georgia gear, man, I like the Braves thing.
It looked good, but I would rather wear USSR communist gear than Braves gear.
Well, you know what? I will say,
I
Greta,
would rather wear the hammer and sickle than the tomahawk. I will leave it there.
I will say, Greta wrestled absolutely great. She did run into a very, very tough Lesueur in the finals, but a great run by Greta. Really, honestly, if we're going to talk about somebody who didn't make the podium, but I thought wrestled extremely well, that was Ella Hughes.
And
Who,
I was gonna mention her actually. That she wrestled out of her ears. She wrestled real tough.
yeah, I don't know. She ended up like 5-2 or 6-2. Just missed the podium, but wrestled extremely well. My only thing with the Georgia girls, honestly, was that there were only 4 16U girls there. Don't
That's
understand that.
unacceptable. Unacceptable.
All right, so let's go to
And
the
can I mention one girl on the
yeah,
junior side
yeah.
that she doesn't get a lot of talk because she, what Jalissa Whaley, bro, went 6-2, didn't get on the podium, but she wrestled out of her ears on the junior side. Same thing for Artemis Eaton, went like 4-5-2. The juniors, if you look at them, L. Kaufman 4-2. Esperanza 3-2, Betances 4-2. Like a lot of the girls on the junior side wrestled.
Abby Clements had a really good tournament.
Yeah, I just want to mention that a lot of them, like you might look at the junior girls and only see one placement, but if you really look at it, they won a whole bunch of matches, looked real good. May Prado went 2-2 or 3-2. I think Cooley went 2-2. Just just didn't get the last ones that we needed them to, but they all wrestled real tough.
I agree with you. I mean, Georgia girls, the junior Georgia girls, there were a lot of them wrestling. They were wrestling all the way back through. They were competitive all the way through. But man, it was just like coming up just short and in the blood round or in
Yeah.
the round before the blood
Yeah,
round or
exactly.
whatever it was. And really good runs, but yeah, it was just tough. It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. What about on the Greco side?
Didn't see. I mean,
You didn't see it?
well, not as much. I mean, I do know that there were a couple more podiums out of Georgia on the Greco side, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So we'll throw it to junior Greco men. First, Blue Stifler, who was an All-American last year in 16U, didn't get to wrestle, got banged up in freestyle and didn't wrestle in Greco. But Emil Necula, again, makes the podium in Greco, which is great. And then I got to give a shout out.
I do remember one. Now that we're talking about, I remember one. This one's funny to me just because of who it is.
All
Tank
right.
Weaver.
Tank Weaver. Yep.
Who I laugh because it's the running gimmick that the Camden guys don't like freestyle and Greco. And now in back-to-back years, last year you had Ryder Wilder just say, I want to make the finals. Why not? And now Conlon Weaver, AAs, and Greco, because ball up, Camden's just better. To Camden, no diffs.
That is so true because the truth of the matter is Conlon, right? He draws the number 1 seed in his opening match in both freestyle and Greco.
He wrestled Kinkaku, didn't he?
And he comes all the way back through and he makes the podium. And I'm talking to Tank through like direct message, and we're having this conversation. And I'm like, oh, I have to get a picture of you throwing to people, and he's like, I don't really know how to throw a whole lot of people, so not sure that's going to happen. I got to figure out how to throw first or something like that. But you know what? Tank is a gamer, man. He stayed in good position. He wrestled tough. He knew what he could do, what he couldn't do, and that sort of thing. And he makes the podium in Fargo, just like you said, with Ryder and Tank, not really freestyle or Greco savvy necessarily. But man, go out there and freaking make the podium in Greco. That is
I just
fantastic.
hate my life because it continues this narrative that Camden. It's just Camden. If you're a pro wrestling person, you'll know the joke of John Cena wins LOL. It's just Camden wins LOL. Like it doesn't. They know diff. It doesn't matter. They find a way, and it somewhat pisses me off because of gimmicks, right? Because of the jokes I make. So it pisses me off in the best way possible. Shout out to that. Shout out to him, man. He wrestled real tough.
And 2 on the 16U side. Obviously, I know I already talked about Orion Mills,
Oh,
but
sorry. Okay.
so we're not gonna talk about Araya again. Who, just to throw this out there, he's the last double champ for Georgia since Sean Haig,
Yep.
right? Except that he's got one thing that Sean didn't have, and that is he won it at 2 different weights the same year.
Ooh.
So
Oh.
Coach Haig, I'm just saying. Anyway, but shout
I
out to
mean,
Ronan
you
On.
could say it. I'm not dealing with him.
Ronan On made the finals at 190 pounds. Fantastic run by Ronan. And Miles Leslie, man, making the podium at 157 pounds, wrestled absolutely great the entire week.
Guy that specifically I want to mention in Greco had a real good run. Christopher Metz just ran into two dogs. I mean, you run into William Webb at a Jersey, who's a monster, and then he ran into the PA kid whose last name I can't pronounce, but he just ran into 2 studs. So shout out to him. He wrestled tough.
Well, and Metz, I think, made the blood round.
Yeah, he made it to the quarters and then dropped 2 in a row to 2 dogs. I mean it.
Yeah. All right. So that is Fargo in a nutshell for the state of Georgia. As a whole, some things we expected, I think, right? Some things we didn't expect.
Yeah, I think that's the way to put it, is that there are certain things that happen that we could have called and wouldn't be surprised by, but then there were other things.
Right, both positively and negatively. Like there were wrestlers who did not have the tournament I know they hoped to have.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles as far as that goes. Whereas others, man, I'll tell you what, you get on a roll, you win some good matches, you win some tough matches, and you make a run for a coaster or a stop sign or whatever you want to call it.
I love that
from
you
Fargo.
say coaster. I love that it's a coaster for the smaller ones. Whoever coined that, can of Coke to you, because that's funny.
All right. So now we turn our attention to, summer wrestling is great. We love it. Absolutely. I love freestyle Greco. But most people are focused on winning a high school state title. And we now move from 7 classes to 6 classes on the boys' side. We're only going to talk about the boys today because we're going to talk about the reclass and everything else. I asked the question on Instagram and on Facebook, which classification is the most difficult? Is it the most difficult to win a state title? And your answer would be,
if we're going on most difficult to win a state title, I'm gonna say 6.
Okay. So
most to win, I'm gonna say 6. I don't think 6 is the toughest. But
and there's a difference between those 2 things.
If you're gonna win a title, you have to go through Camden and Buford, whether it's individually or as a team. So you get what I'm saying? Like you have to go through one of those.
Well, and you have to go through maybe Mills or Bambinelli or and
Yeah,
individual studs that might be on a different team.
exactly. Yeah, so that's my thing. So if we're going off of to win a state title, I'm gonna say 6A.
All right. So if you looked at Facebook and if you looked at Instagram, a lot of people agreed with you. 6A was what they felt was the toughest. Um, they thought the 2A was the easiest. And I don't know that I agree with that statement. Do you?
I don't.
Okay. So why do you think, before we get to maybe what is maybe the easiest, and again, everybody take this with a grain of salt. We're not saying it's easy to win a state title in any of the
Yeah, no,
classifications.
by no means
Right.
are we
We're
saying that.
just simply putting these in order of kind of and trying to analyze it.
My
I think
my
2A, go ahead.
my answer for the easiest is gonna piss a lot of people off.
All right. So before we get to that, I think the reason that 2A is getting shellacked by a few people is because there are a lot fewer teams in 2A than there are in any other classification. There are 46 teams in 2A. There are 62 teams in 3A. There are 61 teams in 4A. There are 61 teams in 5A. There are 80 something teams in 1A.
Yeah.
So 2A it has fewer teams. It has fewer individuals. But
And hey, everyone dance with this. 2A might be the deepest class in the state. If we're gonna talk about like how many teams could win, let's really talk about it for a second.
all right. So I'm going to give you a
Let me
rundown real quick. Yeah, go
let
ahead.
me not deepest. It might be the single most competitive.
Okay.
Let's go from on. You have Columbus, you have Jordan, you have Cook, you have Pierce. And once I name these teams, I'll make my point. Just let me go through the teams I'm looking at. You have Holy Innocents, you have Lovett, you have Kahula Creek, you have Murray, you have Ringgold, you have Rockmart, you have North Murray, you have Sonoraville, you have East Jackson, you have Franklin County, you have Stevens County. If you tell me you have any of those teams in your top four at the end of the season, I believe you. So it might be the single most wide open class in the state. 2A might be popcorn and fucking dart. 2A might be darts and popcorn. We'll bleep that. Goodness. We haven't done a podcast in a while, brother. But 2A might be darts and popcorn.
So, what's interesting about 2A for me is it's one of two classes that actually has a returning team champion, two team champions. So Columbus and Rockmart both won a traditional title last year. So, and they're both in 2A. You add in Ringgold, Franklin County, Lovett, Sonoraville, Union County, Cook, and you've got yourself a good classification.
I agree. I don't disagree at all.
All right. I'm not saying it's the deepest. You said it might be the most competitive.
Yeah, I think most competitive. I think I said throw out, and I misspoke.
The deepest is 1A.
That's very possible too. 1A is a meat grinder.
So let's talk a little bit about 1A and why it could be the deepest. Do you want me to go through it?
No, I mean, okay, I will. Now, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking at it from GHSA, so I kind of have to do a little bit of maneuvering around. But you got teams like, and I'm going to go off of teams that just I feel like, doubling on their year. Toombs, Vidalia. Then you go down, you're looking at teams like Pepperell, Temple, who has continued to grow, Darlington and Bremen, Chattooga, Dalton.
No, not Dalton. Is Dalton on there? Dalton's up.
I meant Darlington, excuse me. I mean Dalton. Excuse me. Banks, Commerce, Elbert, Oglethorpe, Social Circle. Like, just it's a really wide open 1A is very wide open this year.
So 1A returns every single top 10 team that was in 1A
Mount
last
Pisgah, I
year.
forgot about Mount Pisgah.
Oh yeah.
Mary's gonna
Mary's
kill
gonna give
me.
you grief.
Yep, there you go.
But then you add in 2A top 7 teams: number 4 Toombs, number 5 Vidalia, number 6 Banks, number 7 Brantley County, 3A number 5 Bremen. I mean, you have basically 1A, and now you've added 5 to 8 other teams that were all successful last year. Now, just because you were successful last year doesn't mean you'll be successful this year. But it is a marker, right? It is something to pay attention to.
For sure.
So how tough is, if you're talking about the toughest to win a state title, right? How tough is 1A in your rankings, the toughest to win a state
1A
title?
for sure in the top 3. It's whether it's 2 or 3. I think 7A is 1 purely off the idea of having to beat Camden, Beaufort, and then
6A.
Oh, Jesus. 6A, you're right. Then, if you're a heavier weight, you got to worry about where Jacob Levy is. If you're down low, you're running into the Armada.
Not this year.
Well, we don't know that for sure yet. Well, how about let's Jesus. You're the one that's going to get in trouble this week. It's not going to be me. It's you this time.
Anyway. All right, so give me, is it 2 or 3?
I'm going to say 3.
So who is number 2?
I would say I'm going to say 4A.
4A is the toughest. Now, why is 4A the second toughest to win an individual
if
title?
You're looking at the high end, you're looking at having to go through Perry, Ola, Woodland, Union Grove, Locust Grove, Central Carroll, whoever they have, depending on the weight, Flowery Branch, North Oconee, Walnut Grove, Cass, Dalton, Bless Trinity, Cambridge. If we're talking about to win a state title, you have to be the one of one. So my thing is, I'm going to look at the schools that have that. They might not be the deepest team, but they will have that elite level guy. And so that's
how interesting is it to have Ola and Central Carroll in the same class?
I want to see that dual meet. I want to see that dual meet. I am very intrigued by that dual meet. I need people to start doing their weight assessment so I can start running my matrix, because I need to see what my matrix spits out. Because my matrix loves Ola and loves Central Carroll, so I have no clue what it's going to do.
All right. So in your order, it's 7A, 4A, 1A as far as the toughest to win an individual state title. Now,
yes,
I want to make sure that we clarify with everyone, and that is obviously it depends to a degree on who ends up at certain weights, and certain weights are tougher than other weights in different classifications. So, one of our pay-per-view like matches we wanted to watch last year was Cale Kuski and Adam Payton. That was a great individual matchup that we definitely wanted to watch. 7A 190 last year was absolutely fantastic. Right. It was absolutely fantastic. It doesn't mean every 7A weight class was the toughest, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to collapse it down into, as a class, which is the most difficult to make a run for a title. So we're starting at the top, 7A, then 4A, then 1A. Who's next?
Then this is where I'd go 5.
5.
Yes.
Okay.
Because again, I'm looking at it from the perspective of getting through. Well, see, here's the problem. 5, 2, and 3 are all the same to me.
Okay.
In the class I want to call out specifically is 3A. And here's why. Take out Jefferson for a minute. And now I know it won't take out. No, shut up. Just listen to me make my point. Take out Jefferson. take out Lumpkin. This class, real quickly, is a whole bunch of question mark teams.
Doesn't mean they're not going to be good.
Exactly.
It just means that at the moment we're not sure.
My best example of that is Gilmer this upcoming year. It would be very good, but there are questions in a lot of that lineup. They graduated. They lost. You know what I mean? Same thing with a team like a North Hall, a Pickens, and a Daresville. And here's what's going to happen, right? I can book it now. Call me Mystic Mac. People are going to clip me saying that without the context that I gave before and after, and just be like, oh, you said this is the weakest class, and then insert whatever team's dominating, probably Jefferson and Lumpkin. Point being, 3A might be one of the toughest ones depending on the weight classes, but on the whole, 3A might be, if we're ranking them on strength, 3A might be top 6 and not 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I'll let you figure out what that means. They might be there. Like, they really might.
All right. So I think your assessment of 5A, 3A, and 2A are pretty sound. If you're making a comparison between 2A and 5A, how are you kind of parsing it as, because obviously, again, individual weight classes in both of those are going to be extremely difficult to win a title. But as a whole, what do you think?
I think 5A is going to have higher highs. I think 2A is going to have the higher median.
Okay.
The idea of if weight classes break out a certain way, the schools of Brunswick, Greenbrier, Glenn, South Effingham, then you get like veterans, they got some dogs, Alexander, South Paulding, Hope, Lassiter, Creekview, Habersham, Loganville, Jacks County. There'll be some weight classes where 2 or 3 really monsters just link up and they just want to see who's who. But I think 2A will, on the whole, be a little bit more competitive.
All right. So 5A, if we're going to point towards one thing, the one thing I would point to is 5A region, it's region in Georgia, region 1, right? Brunswick was 8th last year in 6A, right? Glenn Academy was number 4 in 6A. South Effingham were the champs. Now you add in Greenbrier, who was 10th in 5A, and you've got a region there that's actually really pretty tough.
And now also don't forget Evans and Effingham, who are tough in their own right.
Right. So
that's going to be a really fun region to watch.
It will be. All right. So 7A?
6.
Oh, sorry. Yes, thank you. Man, it is going to take us a minute to be able to get this right. 6A. Yeah. What'd you say? 4A? 1A.
I said 6, 4, 1.
2?
Yeah, 2.
5, 3?
Yeah, we'll go in that order. Yeah. And you see, again, this is what's going to piss me off, because it's going to be the Jefferson people, right? I know that. I could just say it. It's going to be that. Right, but and here's the thing, because I love a lot of the people forget that, like, I know Dallas Russell, and I know Dallas Russell is a honey badger. The ones who know. I know him as that. I've known him for that long. Like, I've known that family and a lot of that crew for that long. Like, I'm not saying 3A is weak. I'm just saying
if you have to put it in order.
It's a top-heavy class with question marks the rest of the way. That's the thing. At the top, the idea of Jefferson versus Lumpkin, tantalizing. I love that dual meet. Will be fun to see. But then you look past that. Can anyone here tell me for sure what we're going to get out of? I'm going to get crucified.
Yeah, why open this can of worms?
What are we going to get out of Chastity? We don't know yet. They're solid. We got to see how certain guys have developed. They had guys wrestle in the offseason, which is great to see. Yeah. But we don't know yet. Like
That's
that's
true.
my problem with 3A is there's a lot of question marks.
Well, in chastity, I could be wrong, but as long as you were looking at chastity, let's see here. Nah, sorry. Apologies, everyone, real quick.
We do this on the fly, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we do. I thought that Chesty had several seniors last year.
I thought
Yeah.
they had a couple for sure.
So Eli Raines, right, was a senior who lost to Colson Hoffman in the finals.
Yeah.
Tristan Martin was a senior at 144 who was a placer, right? Angel Garduna was a senior state qualifier at 157. Bryant Barnes was a senior straight runner-up at 175. So I agree with you in that I remember looking at it as I was kind of writing through it and trying to figure this out. And that's going to play a role as well. I mean,
Yeah.
there are some teams who were top 10 teams last year, but they graduated quite a few.
And I really hope people can understand that I'm not throwing shade when I say that. It is purely a question of what are we going to see.
Yeah. All right.
Now,
So
are people going to care that I just said that comment? No. Like we know that, but I'm
All right. So last question I have for you is this, and that is give me 5 new duels that we didn't see last year that are going to be fun to watch.
Oh, me
and
man.
I'll start, and it just doesn't have to be one of your 5.
Okay.
Okay. Number 1, Ola Central Carroll.
Right. Oh, frick. That was gonna be mine. Okay, cool. That was gonna be my 1. Jefferson Lumpkin.
Yeah.
Oh, who the hell went down to 1A? Oh, Bremen and Social Circle.
Let's re-energize a battle from years ago, right?
Well, that and off the idea of Bremen was a mid top 10 3A team. They're going up against the reigning defending 1A champions. This will be a great little litmus test to see how are some of these teams that came down to 1A. Is Social Circle still what we think they are? You know what? And it's going to really also, because I know people like to talk crap about 1A, great chance to see what happens when, because everyone's like, oh, well, if they were up with the big division, well, now we get to see when the big division comes down to them.
All right. So who else? You got a couple more for me?
Yeah, I could shoot from the hip. That's where I'm best.
I'm gonna give you one.
Okay.
Columbus Rockmart.
Yeah, I was going through
Although
that class.
I will tell you right now, don't be surprised if neither one of them win it.
Okay.
Ringgold is tough.
They're tough. They kept everything.
They kept everyone, and they have some freshmen.
No, Ringgold's going to be real interesting to see this year.
They have a freshman coming in that beat Giovanni Solis at Disney Duels.
Oh Lord, Ringgold. Ringgold might be a team to talk about.
All right, one last one. You got one more for me?
Yeah. They're not where I thought they were. Oh, okay. Well, we already mentioned this school, but I'm going to mention them again. Central Carroll, Cass.
Yeah.
I just think the idea of Central
Carroll. I love
that. Well, I mean, honestly, there's like Central Carroll versus Woodland. I want to see Central Carroll and is my town odd at first, but Central Carroll and Flowery Branch. Like, there's a couple of these what were 5A that Central Carroll now being with makes me very interested.
So Central Carroll and Cass always is actually super intriguing for me, and the reason it's super intriguing for me is this: both of them are really good dual teams, right? Cass had an okay traditional season and everything else, but man, when you get to a dual environment, Cass is a team that you never can look past.
And really well coached. They know how to win dual meets when it matters. I'm very interested to see that one as well.
I agree. All right, guys. So if we got anything wrong, we expect to hear from you.
Probably.
Scrap-
I'm gonna get crucified for I said about 3A, and that's okay.
Scrappy, I appreciate it, man. And thanks for meeting me back again. We'll have to kick this off next week. Maybe just to put this out there, there were, I think, I could be wrong, 7 freshman state champions last year. Okay. The question to think about as we head to next week is, will there be more or less this year?
I haven't looked much at this incoming freshman class, so I'll have to look at that. We'll have a discussion.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
Take care, brother.
See ya.
Peace.